what I tell young filmmakers is that if you're waiting to save the money to do a film, you'll never do that film. Get up and start doing the film. Whether it's writing, piecing it together, the universe will conspire to help you. And I'm stealing words from one of my favorite books, The Alchemist. The universe will conspire to allow you to succeed. Just get up and do it.
Who is Dolapo Erinkitola?
Dolapo Erinkitola is an African American Nigerian who grew up in Chicago, who lives in Atlanta now, spent his summers in Nigeria, and who's a giver, who works very, very hard to make sure that business is balanced and business is done good. Mm-hmm. Excellent businessman, hard worker, good father, and a very loyal friend. I like to say that that's who I am.
Before we get into some of the many accomplishments that you have, can you give me a brief history of your humble beginnings, where you got started within this industry?
It's interesting. I got started in the entertainment industry. Mm-hmm. Specifically, as a kid, I was doing some acting back in Chicago, and that was pretty good. I had some lead roles and did McCormick Inn, and was very excited that I was going to be the next big actor. Uh-huh. But my household, everything was about education. So when I told my dad that I wasn't going to go to college, I was just going to pursue this acting thing, he had other plans. So he devised a way to make sure that I stayed in school, mm-hmm. and I did. And I kind of gave it up. Through the years, I managed. I helped musicians. I managed musicians. I did some production, executive producing for different artists, and they did very well.
You've had an extensive career in TV and film with projects such as the film Karen on BET, Scheme Queens on BET, and you also did a documentary about John Gabbana, and your most current, which is The Water Boys. Can you talk a little bit about what The Water Boys is about?
Well, The Water Boys, and it's written and directed by Coke Daniels, who also did the movie Karen with me. And he's a very talented writer, director. And I'm very proud and happy to work alongside him. But Water Boys basically chronicles the life of the water boys in Atlanta, where they run up to your car and sell you water. And this is really a coming of age story because you've got some kids that they do it right. Mm-hmm. And then you've got some kids who are not doing it right. So in the city of Atlanta, it's very polarizing. There's some split opinion about, are the water boys good? Should they even be on the street? Mm-hmm. Because while some kids will come up to your car, they sell you water, other kids will terrorize the drivers, they'll snatch a purse or turn it into an opportunity for something negative. And granted, is some of those few apples that's really, casting a cloud over the whole experience. Right. But getting back to the movie really just tells you about the scene, really. So you're going to have some kids who are doing it right. You're going to have some kids that are doing it wrong, fighting over a block, and then life happens and they make some pretty interesting decisions on, their next steps. And that's really the story about Water Boys. And I can't wait for the public to see it. It's great. We've got Achille McDowell, who's the lead actor. We've got Quavo from Migos, who's in it. We've got Damani, wow. Who's T.I.'s son. He's an artist of his own. We've got Lala Anthony in it. We've got some really heavy hitters, Omar Dorsey, Rockman Dunbar. I mean, the list goes on and on and on about high-end Don Dawn Half McKinney, she's
Mhm.
in it. So we've got a lot of really, really good actors and actresses in it.
Wow. Yeah, I'm excited to see that, man. What role did you play behind the scenes in each of these films? What is your role?
Well, I'm an executive producer,
Oh,
and for like Waterboys, producer and executive producer. And what that means is help producing the project to see it through completion from a business standpoint,
mhm.
and also securing funds, making sure that we have enough funds to kind of see the project through. Um, so the job of the executive producer is to secure funds and talent to make sure that the project is successful. And it doesn't exclude negotiating with platforms and getting a distribution deal, so on and so forth. And then producing the film is really just about managing the film. Um, this film was actually produced by Earl Sandler, and he has his entire team that actually did the production for Waterboy. So he has a really good production team, and I was fortunate enough to lend my experience and lend my hand to help produce it with some other producers like Quality Control Films,
Wow.
um, Coach K and P from Quality Control. They're part of the production team.
Yeah.
We've got Liquid Soul, Terrell and his team. They're part of the production team. I mean, this movie is Atlanta. When I say it's Atlanta, it's Atlanta. So again, hats off to Coke Daniels, who just did an excellent job bringing everyone together.
Will this movie be in theaters, on streaming platforms? Where can we find it?
We're considering going the film festival circuit and then taking it theatrical. But those decisions are yet to be made. We're still tweaking it and getting it finished, ready for consumption.
Now, you mentioned part of your role is seeking funding and getting funding. Is there any keys to success that you could share with us on how a filmmaker can achieve getting funding for their project, whether they're independent or they're trying to work it to where it can be a major production?
Yeah, I mean, there's like a formula to that. Um, a lot of it has to do with the type of film it is and who's on it so far. So, for example, um, it's easier to get funding for a film if it has a home, meaning it has a distribution deal,
Okay.
or you have a platform that's saying, "Hey, when you get done, I want it."
Mhm.
Then it's easy for someone to write a check because you already know where it's going to go and your money can be returned. Or minimum guarantee, an MG will also allow it to be, easily funded. Another piece is really looking at who's in the film because Hollywood has an algorithm on what each actor and actress can bring to, you know, let's say a movie.
Mhm.
So if you, and I'm just making these numbers up, I'll just give you an example. So let's say you have um, Nia Long in a film. There's an algorithm that will tell you at minimum what that film will do. So as an investor, you can look at that algorithm and say, okay, at minimum, if this goes out and they produce, halfway decent content, I know I'll be able to get back X. So it's the duty of the executive producer to know what that formula looks like to determine if they're going to invest.
Okay. Um, how did you know how to navigate the business and make things happen as an executive producer, or even just getting into the field of being an executive producer? How did you know how to navigate?
A couple of things. One, like I said, I used the help of my partner at the time, and they were a wealth of information. They had been in the industry for a long time, so they assisted me. But
Mhm.
also, I surrounded myself with experts in the industry that mentored me, and I'm, I guess I'm open-minded enough to say I don't know everything, and I asked a lot of questions. So
Right.
I had people like Cass Beatles who helped me. Like I said, Coke Daniels who helped me. Jennifer Pasima, who's an excellent filmmaker. Look out for her. She's going to do some big things. I just surrounded myself with people who knew a lot more than me. Shout out to Megamind and those guys. They helped me a lot. You know those guys?
I know Tressa Azarel, and I met Maurice. I don't know if you know Maurice Foster.
Good people. And again, they're just a phone call away. So the secret to success is surround yourself with people who have done it longer than you, who have been successful, and who speak your language, right? Who will take the time. And for me, I ask a lot of questions. So I have to have someone who's patient enough to answer those questions. And I was lucky enough to find those people. So again, Tress is one of them. Don is one of them. The list goes on. So I'm really appreciative of my village that allowed me to kind of move along at my pace and become successful.
Absolutely, man. What are some of the key elements one would need when looking to do what you do as an executive producer?
I would say study the business. You have to be, a lover of the arts, because there's a difference. There's some people who will say, let's say I'm an athlete, I'm a pro athlete, and I've got, millions of dollars and I want to invest in some movies. Here, take 5 million and do a movie. And they're just looking for an investment, a return on their investment. I look at that as someone who is an investor, not necessarily an executive producer, because they're giving you a bag of money. They're trusting you on what you do. You may or may not give them a return. But you won't see that person on set. They're not on any other phone calls. An executive producer really has to do their homework. They have to have read the script. They have to have a voice in, okay, hey, because things happen on a movie. Hey, this person can't make the shoot. Now we got to get someone else. Well, you have to be a good steward of the money, and you have to make sure that those decisions that are being made behind the scenes are in the best interest of the film and of the people who are making the film. So the executive producer is the conscious. It is the conscious of the film. It is the one who is making sure that the money is spent correctly. It's good stewards of the film with the line producer. And there's a whole assortment of roles that you have to play that's different from a regular investor. So if you're really being a true executive producer, you're more so concerned with allowing the movie to be completed and sold for profit.
There's a lot of things that people don't really understand when they're watching a show or they're watching a movie, and then they see the line of credits. We don't always know what it is that everybody that's involved does. And usually, if let's just say, for like 50 Cent, for example, he's an executive producer of Power, right? But you don't really know what his role is. He's not the creator of Power, but a lot of people say it's 50 Cent's show, where yes, he's a part of the show. He's an executive producer, but we don't really know what his role is. And that's kind of the reason why I was asking to kind of give a little bit more insight as to what it is that an executive producer does or producer does, that type of thing.
So if you mirror it to the music industry, you might have someone who writes a song, right? And then you have an artist that sings that song but never wrote that song. And when people hear it on the radio, they're going to be like, oh, that's that is, I'm making this up, that is Beyonce's song, but Beyonce maybe didn't write it, right? It might have been written by Neil. But we all say it's Beyonce's song, which we're correct. But then if you look, see who produced the song, someone else probably produced it, was in the room to make sure that the sound matched the voice and she sung it correctly so that we got what we needed to get out of that song. But then someone had to come up with the money, secure the studio, make sure they got the right producer, make sure they got the right song to present to Beyonce, make sure that Beyonce listened to the song so that she understood that, hey, this is a good fit for you. That would be the executive producer that's actually the puppet master, bringing everyone together to make sure it happens. They might not have written the song, they might not perform the song, but at the end of the day, when you read executive produced by so and so, technically you could say, yeah, they're a part of that. They're a part of that project. Yet you never hear their voice. They didn't write a beat.
Right.
So you have to look at it in that respect, and everybody's role is important. And if you're an executive producer and you're looking to shine, to be up front, then you're in the wrong position, because executive producers are technically in the back.
Right.
But if they do a good enough job, then all of a sudden people know that an executive producer will give you the results. And now you start branding that executive producer. Or if that person happens to be a celebrity, you will brand them in that role to bring more light to the project.
Right. And that's a perfect analogy, perfect example. And it makes a whole lot of sense. You have a platform called Dolapo's Screening Room. Can you explain what Dolapo's Screening Room is?
It is it's a platform, like you mentioned, that allows young filmmakers to come on out and show what they're working on and get feedback from seasoned professionals. And it allows them to be in the room with basically everything that they need. So, for example, if I'm a filmmaker and I really don't know what to do, I'm just coming out of college, or I just decided to be a filmmaker, the chances of you getting into a room with an EP, a writer that is currently on a major network, an attorney that's in the same room, an agent, actors and actresses that are currently on TV, on the big screen, basically producers, people who own studios. You have access to them in one room in an intimate setting with no cost to you. And you get people who are looking at your projects, giving you not necessarily judging it, but giving you feedback on how you can make your project better. So what we do is we ask them, what is it that you want to get out of this experience? And some will say, I want the commentators to give me feedback on how I can get it on this platform, or it's not yet done. I want them to tell me what I can do better. So there's specific questions. We challenge the people who are showing their projects to be as specific as possible so we can give them feedback. But everything is absorbed by me. There's no cost to the public whatsoever. This is our gift to the film community. And it's really just a stepping stone to our ultimate goal. Next year, we're taking DSR, and we do DSR 6 weeks. Every 6 weeks, we do a new DSR, and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and everyone loves it. And next year, we're doing it's almost like Shark Tank, but for filmmakers. Yeah. And we're going to have a bucket of money, and it's, again, no cost to get in. You pitch right on the spot, and you can get your film funded right on the spot.
Wow.
That is the second phase of our journey. And then our last phase of the journey is the actual recognition show, where we have an award show that kind of ties it in. So DSR is the first step. We started it this year, and it's bananas now. It's crazy, and I just appreciate Atlanta warming up to it and supporting it. Next year, we're going to be doing the funding aspect. And lastly, we're going to be doing the recognition aspect. So it's moving along really, really well. And the city loves it. Not just the city. We've got people flying in from other cities, which is crazy. And they're participating. We had somebody that flew in from London. It's crazy. And we're really excited about what we're.
I was going to ask you, but you beat me to it. You said you have people from outside of Atlanta, even outside of the country, that are participating. My next question was going to be, are you going to open it up for folks outside of Atlanta? Or do you envision this going around from city to city, or major cities, or is this something that you're going to keep on the home front? And if you want to participate, you can come to Atlanta or submit your film that way.
Yeah, we want it's open to everyone right now. They can we get people from other cities, like I mentioned, other states. They'll submit, and then if their project is chosen, they'll fly out. Okay. But the reason why we're choosing to do it in Atlanta and keep it in Atlanta as a base is because we believe Atlanta has something to offer. Mm-hmm. We've got LA, which everyone knows LA. Mm-hmm. And there's so much stuff going in LA. So sometimes we get actors and actresses leaving Atlanta to go to LA to make it. And I think Atlanta, we're still in our infancy when it comes to, even though Atlanta's been doing films for a long time, but now Atlanta is turning the corner where you don't necessarily have to go all the way out to LA to get your cameraman, to get your grip, to get your this, to get your, and so opportunities like this will help sharpen, the talents of the individuals here. And that's why we want to keep it in Atlanta. And as people now decide, let's say you're in Iowa, I want you to decide and have a tough decision on whether you go to LA or whether you go to Atlanta to chase that dream, because Atlanta is coming. And that's what this is about. So we're going to keep it in Atlanta. We're going to keep growing it. And we just want to be on par with, the sister city in making good content.
Yeah, and the reason why I was asking that is because we like you said, we already know about LA, we know about New York. Atlanta is definitely rising as a hub for talent. That is 1000% sure. But there's also other hubs that are kind of underrepresented or overlooked. However, film crews and shows will come out here to film and then leave. That was part of the reason I was asking, is because for some of these other locations, such as Washington, D.C. or the DMV area, we're also a rising hub, but we are not quite where Atlanta is. But we want to be, and we're coming as well. And so that the reason why I asked that is because there's a lot of talent in this area, and I was just curious to know if that was something that you had in the plans down the road. But I definitely understand where you're coming from as far as wanting to showcase Atlanta and make that a priority.
Yeah, there's a lot of talent out there in the DMV. Octet Productions Entertainment is out there too. And I love those Chuck and Bree. They're killing it out there. And like I said, Megamind and some of the others. But what makes Atlanta a little different right now is the state of Georgia is helping Atlanta with our tax incentive. Yes. And people are coming to shoot because it's still a business. And with the support of the city, with the mayor and the governor, we're laying the groundwork where people are really coming to Atlanta to do work. And it is going to take not just having the talent that we have in movie makers, but it's going to take the municipalities, the politicians to kind of dig in and say, okay, we're vested in this as well. And we're happy that the state of Georgia is with us and the city of Atlanta is with us. And I think that's what's making the difference from, like you said, like a Miami or DC or Chicago is big in it. New Orleans is big in it. So, I think we are pretty lucky that, the state is helping us out.
I think that's something that we are working on. In particular, PG County, Maryland, or Maryland is working on providing that aspect. But, it's still going to take a lot of persuasion and nudging on the political side before that takes off. Can you explain the importance of not only giving back to your community, but the greater creator community of color as a whole?
Yeah, man, that's a really good question. I'm glad you brought that up, because that's what I stand on. It's all about giving back. People have asked me so many times, hey, we can make so much money on DSR, we got to start charging. Is it like you're missing the mission statement then? Because everything is about giving back. I'm a firm believer of the Almighty, and if you are truly his son or his daughter, you're looking for ways to help. And it might not benefit you directly, but it benefits you because it allows you to get your next blessing. And it shouldn't be because of an exchange, right? I'm not doing this to get that, but you're doing it because you know that that's what he wants. And I always say all business is not good business. But if we get people to do business the right way and not learn to be givers sometimes, not just takers. You can't be a giver all the time, but you also can't be a taker. Right. It's okay to let go and give and help out in the community. And you'll be surprised where they are. What's so funny is I saw Shannon Sharp. He has his podcast, and he just had what's that dude, the comedian from In Living Color, Tommy Davidson, right?
Yes.
And he was on there, but he was talking how Puffy was his assistant.
Yeah, I didn't know. I didn't
know that, right? But he poured into Puffy.
Right.
He poured into Puffy without asking for anything in return. And he said every time Puffy gets a chance, Puffy pours into him, and he doesn't have to tell the story that, I gave this kid a shot. But if you do it the right way, those things always come back. And that's a perfect example of if you're living the right way and you're pouring into the people coming up, that your life is going to be good. They're going to remember that. And, and everyone around should have that, what I call a servant attitude on, okay, how can I help the next man? While still chasing your own dreams, right? You're not just pouring into someone, not trying to do what you got to do, but it has a way, and this is really important for the audience. It has a way of helping you indirectly, meaning once you help someone, sometimes the help is not really for them. The help is really for you. Yes. Because the energy you get from helping them helps you do what you got to do. It's really crazy the way if you do it freely, how you're now energizing yourself because you help someone else. And that's really what this industry is kind of lacking, or needs more of. And I hope to be part of that team that helps to bring that out, because once you do that, the sky's the limit.
I agree 1,000% as far as giving back to our community, and working towards a common goal that we all want to see, for one, but that in your heart and in your mind is the right thing, and it's only going to nurture and help the next generation, be leaps and bounds ahead of where we're at, as far as where we stand within this business and within the community. It only makes us stronger, and the strength is in numbers. And so the more people that are willing to help, and be givers and not necessarily takers all the time, then you'll see the power in that and the strength in that.
We're all better off, man. Yeah. We're all better off.
I recently saw that you won the Joseph Biden Lifetime Achievement Award for the International Coalition Against Trafficking of Children, and you've also been graced with your own billboard. Can you talk a little bit about that?
No, that's top secret, agent on hush type deal, man. I can't really say. We shouldn't even be. No, I'm just kidding. It was such an honor to be a part of that, man. And it's all about giving, and this is a perfect segue. It's about being able to give. And I sat on the board of the national board of the 100 Black Men. I was one of the previous presidents in Atlanta. And it's all about mentoring. So mentoring kids. But in this particular instance, they were looking for consistent feedback on education, on what to look out for, how to protect our young people, how to protect our women. And it's not just, educating them directly, it's educating the people around them So you're educating the kids, you're educating the parents, you're educating the teachers through different, training sessions. And it's nice to get recognized for, just assisting and helping and showing love. So I appreciate, uh, President Biden and Vice President Harris for recognizing me, and that's a big honor. So thank you.
Yeah, man, that's awesome. That's amazing to get that kind of recognition from the president and the vice president. And not only are you given the award, but it's also on display for people to see. That's awesome. That's amazing.
Yeah.
That's another way of showing the community that when you pour back into the community, these are some of the things that can happen for you.
Exactly. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Like I said, I'm really proud of that, and I'm really proud of my team, EPI Media Group. They always support me, and like I said, I've got a lot of really good people around me that make sure that I do what I say I'm going to do. And I'm proud of my friends, my families, and my coworkers that push me the right way.
Yeah, no, that's awesome, and it's good to keep a good circle around you for sure. You're also a restaurateur. So you're a man of many hats. You're an entrepreneur. How did you get into the restaurant business?
I'm African. Like I said, I'm Nigerian. So you got to work. In my house, you got to work. So yeah, and it's just not having the mindset of no, right? So if there's something that you want to do, you just get out there and do it. It doesn't matter. And I think sometimes in the US, they tell you, and I have to say the US because if you go outside of the US and you see people doing multiple things,
right,
it's like every day. But in the US, they kind of pigeonhole us because they say, okay, you're going to be an engineer and you're going to be the best engineer. And, and that's your lane, which is good because you get, there's a quote that reads, a wise man is a man who knows less and less about more and more, right? Yeah. Knows more and more about less and less, who knows more and more about less and less. So that person becomes an expert in their lane. But the problem with that is if you have other energies, you're not fulfilling those energies. Right. MLK had 24 hours in a day. Look what he did. Malcolm X had 24 hours in a day. Look what he did. Jesus had 24 hours in a day. So me just being an engineer, I'm like, there's so much more I can do. I say all of that to come back to say, yes, doing restaurants was just something that I went into. I definitely wanted to find something a little stable. My previous job had me traveling a lot. And I really wanted to be around for the person that I was with at the time. I didn't want to, it was almost like I was in a long distance relationship. So I had to find something that was a little more stable.
Okay.
And so it's interesting. I ended up opening up a restaurant with some heavy hitters who knew the restaurant business, and we became successful at it. And so I'm one of the co-owners of Blue Lagoon, and I own that with my partners, Joe and Tony, who are very successful in the restaurant business. And then I'm also one of the owners of Havana Lounge. And I own that with my brother, Ade, who's a successful businessman himself. And then I had some other restaurant ventures that I ended up shutting down and just concentrating on those two restaurants right now because, I don't want to spread myself too thin. So you've got the philanthropy, you've got, the film, and you've got the music aspect that I do, and then the restaurant. So there's a lot on my plate.
Yeah. And we kind of skimmed over it a little bit, but talk about what you do in the music business.
In the music business, I try to find overlap on everything that I do. So I manage a lot of artists, some Grammy nominated artists who are currently on tour. In fact, today we just set some of my artists up to perform in Abu Dhabi in a big music festival next year in February.
Wow.
But I manage artists, just to kind of get better. I insert the business acumen so that they can concentrate on the creative side and I can help them on the business side. But what I also do is I look for opportunities for overlap. So if I'm doing movies and we need songs, guess who I'm calling first? So now they've got the overlap into the movies. And then with the restaurants, if they've got an upcoming show before they perform, guess where they're going to perform? They're going to perform at my restaurants, getting the feel from the crowd. So everything has an overlap if you look at it the right way. Hell, in the restaurants, I even have them, in Scheme Queens, we shot part of Scheme Queens in both of my restaurants. So there's a way to kind of look at it as one job, if you will, not, oh, you're doing 5 or 6 different things. But if you look at it the right way, it's just one big job, if you can find levers to connect them.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because that wasn't initially going to be a question of mine, but being that you were able to tie those 3 things together, the part that I was thinking of was music syncing, and syncing your music and aligning it with a film project or aligning it with a TV show, and how important that is for musicians, producers, to find another route to get their music heard. But not only that, they're also attaching it to TV and film. So let's just say it's a film and that film becomes Oscar nominated, then that song is a part of that,
It is.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good point. I mean, everyone is going down the same lane when it comes to performing. And my artists, they are doing video games, they are doing movies, they are extras. And again, this is inserting the business side of it. Creators want to create, singers want to sing, artists want to paint, actors want to act. So that's their passion. But somebody's got to look out and say, hey, well, what about if we do this and we do that, or we add this? And that's where they tie everything together. So yeah, my artists are outside of the box, so to speak, and I'm proud of that.
What's next for you?
Continuing to be bigger, scaling what I'm doing. The thing is, I'm never afraid, man. I'm never afraid. So if there's a new industry that is around the corner, then maybe we'll be talking next year, and I'm doing something totally different. I'm never afraid to kind of jump into something new. But right now, I really want to scale what we're doing in the in the movie industry. I really want Atlanta to really get more notoriety for what they bring to the table. And I see a lot of these actors and actresses in there, especially in Black Hollywood, really busting their tail. And when I'm at the negotiating tables, and please, I'm not talking about any platform, but when we finish a project and we're now trying to sell the project, our numbers, we got to fight to get those numbers.
Right.
And because it came out of Atlanta doesn't mean that we shouldn't get the numbers. And because it's, it's an all Black cast or this and that doesn't mean we shouldn't get the numbers.
Right.
One of my projects was number one independent movie on Amazon for about 6 months. Wow. Okay. So we can do good projects. No, we do very good projects. So the business side of it has to match it, and we have to fight for it now. And there's a good fight and a right fight. And the right fight is doing your homework, getting better, getting more notoriety, being vested in getting better. And I think that's the season we're in Atlanta. And I'm happy to be a part of it.
How can people find you on social media?
On all of it, it's the same. I have a website, my Facebook, Instagram, all the same. Official Dolapo E. So official DOLAPOE. So my name is Dolapo, but there's another Dolapo out there. So I put the first initial of my last name. So official Dolapo E, runs all together, no spaces. And that's how they reach me.
All right, man. And last but not least, I'm gonna start to do this in every interview. A final word, whether that be a piece of advice, a message, a famous quote, words to live by.
You know what? I'm glad you said it. Or you're asking. Anybody who's watching this particular interview, if you stumble upon it on Google or Bing or whatever it is, and you subscribe to this channel, my takeaway or your takeaway, I hope, from this interview is not only that it was a good interview and the exchange and the energy was great, and hopefully we shared some good information. Mm-hmm. But the takeaway should be you are enough and you need to seize the day. You are enough and you need to seize the day. There is nothing that you need to work up to save. There's nothing that you need to finish or complete. There's no degree. There's no money. Just get up and do. And that's the thing that you gotta truly understand. What I tell young filmmakers is that if you're waiting to save the money to do a film, you'll never do that film. Get up and start doing the film. Whether it's writing, piecing it together, the universe will conspire to help you. And I'm stealing words from one of my favorite books, The Alchemist. The universe will conspire to allow you to succeed. Just get up and do it.
Well, Dolapo, I am inspired. Thank you for your time for this interview. I enjoyed speaking with you. At some point, I do want to get out to one of the DSRs.
Yeah.
And let's link up and make that happen. Yeah, man, thank you for your time, your energy, your message, and your wealth of knowledge. I truly, truly appreciate that. Dolapo Erinkitola, everybody.
Hey, thank you so very much. And you got to taste the food I got you when you come down here, man. You family now, so I can't wait to see you in Atlanta.
Oh, man, that's that. You ain't said nothing but a word, man.